Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today we're going to be talking to Lon Welsh. He has been in the real estate trenches for over 20 years. He built one of the largest independent brokerages in the state, doing over 2.8 billion in sales with 750 agents. He runs a private real estate investment firm. He's written multiple best-selling books, and he's a regular contributor in places like Bigger Pockets and Collective Genius. We're very excited to have him on the show, and we're going to be talking about how you can do more deals regardless of the market. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description. And if you like money and you like real estate, hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs. All right, Lon, thank you for coming on today and welcome to Founders Club.
Thank you for having me.
So, looking forward to having you on today. You've built quite an impressive real estate business in multiple verticals. So, definitely excited to chat with you about that. You've also written a few books, which are best-selling books, which is we're going to talk about that. But why don't we just kind of start with just your quick backstory? You've built the largest independent brokerage in Colorado. You guys do 2.8 billion in annual sales. So looking forward to having a nice chat. But yeah, why don't you give us your quick backstory?
Yeah, I worked in corporate finance for a couple of years, went back to business school. Then I worked as a strategy consultant for 8 years at Deloitte and then Accenture. And then I've been in real estate full time for 24 years or something like that. I started Your Castle Real Estate in 2004 and grew it to be the largest independent in Colorado. So we had about 750 agents when I sold it to a private equity firm about 3.5 years ago. I built a title company with a friend, First Alliance Title. We sold that to Compass about 3.5 years ago. And then about 3 years ago, I was semi-retired for like 6 months, was bored stiff. I started this company called Ironton Capital to help people invest in real estate passively. So it's been a really fun ride, and I've been just an investor myself all the way through that whole 25 years.
Okay, very cool. So yeah, so you definitely have a lot of experience in the trenches. Obviously, right now the market is a bit interesting. Low inventory, high interest rates, things like that. How are you kind of pivoting your business to adjust?
Well, there's probably two ways to answer that. On the brokerage side, we're just having to kind of really coach our agents on reminding them about listing skills because they kind of tend to forget that when you don't use them. You didn't need them for a lot of years. And definitely the negotiation side on the seller is something brand new because the buyers have been so in charge for so long. Um, I think there's also a huge opportunity that's largely overlooked on withdrawn and expired listings because not many people seem to be chasing after those, and there's an increasing number of withdrawn listings. So that can be a very good opportunity set. And then from the investing side at Ironton Capital, this is an incredible time to be a buyer because the prices of multifamily have come down about 20, 22% from the peak. So we're buying things at a much better price. And now all of the pro formas have built in these much higher insurance costs, higher taxes, lots of inflation over materials and labor. So if anything, I think we're getting better deals now than we've gotten probably at any time in the last 5 years.
Yeah, so and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's going to continue. I think the opportunities in multifamily are going to be pretty nice for the next couple years after a few years of almost impossible deals.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what we're seeing is that there was a huge number of new apartment complexes that were started in the development cycle in the early phases of COVID, 2020, 21 in particular, maybe the first quarter of 2022. And all of those projects that started then because the financing was so cheap and the banks were so loose, they're all getting delivered last year and this year. So we have a lot of new supply coming on that we're having to absorb. So you're going to see probably another, 2 to 4 quarters, depending on your market, of a little higher vacancy, a little less rent growth than you'd expect. But the number of deliveries after that is close, like a half or 2/3 less than what it was. So if demand keeps on the track that it is and supply additions is compressed by a lot, that means that vacancy is going to go down and rents are really going to go up. So this is a great time to be buying multifamily.
Yeah, no, that's a great outlook from someone that's in it right now. What I like that you really said there that kind of made my ears perk up is a lot of the agents are kind of freaking out about the, number of agent deals that are getting withdrawn. But it sounded like you're looking at that as a potential opportunity in terms of expired listings and be able to jump on top of those. Why don't you give us some insight on how to approach that?
Yeah, so of the listings that withdraw or expire, it'll probably vary quite a bit depending on your market, but at least in Denver, just over half of those will come back to the market sometime over the next 12 months. And these people have already raised their hand and they're probably frustrated with their current realtor. So to have the chance of somebody new to talk to is probably something that's relatively appealing. 10 or 15% of those people, when they relist their property, are at the same price or a higher price. So apparently they didn't learn much of a lesson the first time around. But the vast majority of them will agree to a price reduction. The ones that get the price reductions, the majority of those actually do go on to sell. So I think it's one of the easiest prospecting channels to go through. So you just need to come up with a good value proposition that you can explain during a listing presentation about what you're going to do that's different than a typical realtor to make this listing stand out in a market with an increasing amount of inventory. And I think if you just have like a 12-piece package, you drop one off every couple of weeks in their mailbox or just mail it to them or whatever you want to do, you'll eventually break through. Sooner or later, they're going to relist that house and you'll be the first person they think of. This would be a great application for artificial intelligence. If you're not sure what that script would be, role play it with ChatGPT, have it help you build the content. And then, chat's going to be pretty generic, but you can customize it to your market dynamics. If you're in Cincinnati and you're seeing inventory has done X and prices have done Z, you can blend all that right in there. You're going to really look like an authoritative expert.
I love that. I think that's amazing all the way around because, yeah, those people have raised their hands. So you definitely know that they're interested in selling. Whatever happened, between their agent or the market or not getting their price, eventually they're going to, like you said, they're going to sell in the next 12 months, statistics show. And so, what a great opportunity to get there. If you, door knock them, call them, send them mail, drop things off, that could be a great source of business over the next couple years.
Yeah, all of those would work. I mean, if you've got the intestinal fortitude to do the door knocks, that'll be the most powerful. If you can use something like Red X to get their phone and call them, that'd be fantastic. But honestly, just a mail campaign would probably be okay. But you're gonna have to be consistent. You're gonna have to do like a lot of it, and you spend $40 per person sending out a lot of high quality material over a year long campaign. You're gonna have such a high conversion rate. It doesn't really matter what you spend on it.
Mhm.
But nobody's doing this that
Yeah,
I know of. Like it's just an overlooked opportunity.
I love that. That's great advice. Okay, so another thing I wanted to ask you about is you obviously built a very impressive brokerage, 750 agents doing billions a year in sales. What would you say was the key in scaling? Because we have a lot of people that are independent brokerages or people that are building teams that could probably learn a lot from what you have to say on that.
So I think the key to all this is, as the owner, if you could be at least a little bit involved in the recruiting effort so that you're making calls and talking to agents and finding out what's working and not working in the market. And if you're still an active producer, you're going to already have your finger on the pulse. But your view will be a large part of the mosaic, but it won't be complete. Talking to other agents about their frustrations and what's working will complete the overall picture. And then what you need to do is brainstorm what it is you can bring to help solve the biggest pain point in the market. So I'll give you the biggest illustration of that that really got us launched. When we launched in 2004, it was a very robust market. Financing was very easy. It was just a great big party. And the market crashed in 2007 because of that. And by 2009, it was like a complete wreck across the entire country. So what we did is I did a study in the MLS. You can do this too. Broker metrics would be a great way to do this. It doesn't cost a lot to sign up for Broker Metrics. You can get the production stats for every single agent in your geography and sort it out by who are the relatively strong producers that are seeing an uptick in production even in a down market, who's flat and who's down. And then what you do is you can do a campaign where you just call all the realtors that are down and say, look, our brokerage just got done doing a development of a set of training programs on how to succeed in a down market. And I'm going to be offering that on these dates. I wanted to offer you to come to this class as well. You'd be surprised what high conversion rate you'll get because you already know it's what they need and you don't need to rub their nose in it. They already know, but you're being polite about it. And if they come to the class, then what I would always do when I start a class off is ask them to introduce themselves and what's one problem you want to try to solve from this class, and you jot those down. You do a follow-up call within 4 business hours of the class saying, John, I'm so glad that you came to our class today. I know that your problem was X. We kind of glossed over that. I've got a couple specific ideas for you. Could we get together sometime next week on Tuesday or Wednesday? I can outline that plan for you. It's really a recruiting appointment. That's what you do. So every time there's a change in the market, there's going to be some new opportunity for you to solve a problem. Right now, the problem might be AI. How do I install AI into my practice to be more efficient and not be left behind? Well, great. We're going to do a series of classes on that. I wrote a book on AI for realtors about 4 months ago, and it's been a great recruiting tool.
I love that. Yeah, I think the live events is always good. I like your idea of asking at the beginning what their pain points are, let the market tell you, and then figure out a plan to solve that.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're using ChatGPT all the time. I also built a custom realtor coach GPT. So if anybody wants access to that, just send me a message, and we'll get you hooked up with that. You can talk to it about all these ideas that we're going through today. And then you obviously also had with 750 agents a wide variety from the heavy hitters to the brand new agents. So, what would you say is the thing that separates kind of the elite pros from everybody else?
Hey there, I just have a quick favor to ask. If you're getting value from Founders Club and you're watching on YouTube, just give us a like, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. These things are free to do, and it really helps the channel. And it also helps us be able to bring better guests for you in the future. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, I've actually done a couple studies on what makes high producing agents that way. And the single biggest predictor of someone's gross commission income is the size of their network. There's a direct linear relationship. The larger their network size, the more income they tend to make. Right behind that is I use a CRM on a regular basis, and it doesn't matter what CRM. Everyone always seems to have this idea: I need to have the silver bullet CRM that's going to be the best one in the world. The most basic CRM used on a consistent basis is the best CRM. It doesn't matter which one it is. And then having some sort of a structured plan for staying in relationship. The vast majority of realtors get most of their business through repeat and referral. It's a very small number of people that knock on doors or do social media to generate a lot of things. So if you're a repeat and referral agent, do you have some structured way to be in touch 6 to 8 times a year? And if you can accomplish that, you're going to be really successful. Unfortunately, people are not willing to do this, and they always want to have some easier way to do it. They want to sign up for some AI driven social media campaign that's going to supposedly like drive more business. And I would tell you, like, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and honestly say that you're doing everything you possibly can to be in a relationship with the people who already know you, like you, and trust you, then you have my permission to go talk to people who don't know you, don't like you, and don't trust you. But there's no reason to talk to people who are cold when you have people who are warm who already love you. Work with them.
Mm. I think that's great advice, and the statistics fully back that up. Every year, NAR does a study on where agents are getting their business, and every year it comes from agent databases is always the top thing. So, what are you seeing those successful agents doing to their database to get them to raise their hand? Is it a mix of everything, or any advice you would give there?
Gosh, I think every high production agent has a slightly different recipe that's just sort of customized to what's good for them. You might have a person who's in a golf club and they're just super active socially within that golf community, and they're one of 4 really great realtors that's mining 500 families. We've got a lady who works in the resort markets, Breckenridge and Copper Mountain and Keystone. She's got about 1,000 people on her database, but she sees a lot of them in person. And is just taking them out to go golf. She goes plays tennis with them. She goes on bike rides with them. She skis with them. Just all the ordinary stuff she'd do anyway. She just makes sure that she goes through that list and tries to get at least 1 or 2 in persons a year and get on the phone a couple times a year. And then she does a lot of happy hours and coffees. And it's just setting up a structured way of doing whatever it is you enjoy doing. If it's what you like, it's going to come across as super authentic, and you won't hate doing it.
Yeah.
That I think that's the key to it, is finding something that you enjoy that connects to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think the takeaway for me there was do things that you're already doing. Like if you're
Yes.
the type of person that isn't the most social, then send more mail pieces, do more, text communications. And if you are the type of person that's more social, or more active, then rally people around those things, do events, to your point, the lady that lives in the mountains, maybe start a skiing group.
Yep.
Any of those types of things are great just to get people together, have the lunches, the coffees, the meetings and all of that.
That's all it takes. You just have to be structured about it. It's really not that different than losing 10 pounds. Like everybody knows, like the recipe, right? You eat just a little bit less, you go to the gym a little bit more, you do that consistently for, some number of months, and you get the result, the weight loss that you want. Just because it's easy to understand doesn't mean it's easy to do consistently. And being a high producer is the same way. Like the formula is very simple. Don't make it complicated. Just you have to show up and do it every day.
The discipline and the consistency. That's what gets you every time. Yeah, no, that's totally true. Do you have any thoughts around how to install that into our business so maybe it becomes easier or more natural or more automatic?
I think the biggest thing is you have to understand why you're doing this and why you want to make what you want to make. And it's funny, like you meet tons and tons of new agents when you're recruiting, and you ask them, what's your target income? They all say, I want to make $100,000 a year, and I'm not sure why they all uniformly say that, but that's the number they all pick. And you have to like kind of figure out, well, why is that? Like, how much were you making in the job that you had before coming into real estate full time? And then people tend to make what they need to make, not what they want to make. And if they want to make something bigger than that, then you've got to tie it to some goal that my kid's going to be going to college in 3 years. I'm behind on saving money for that. I've got to get ready to do that. Or I want to retire in 5 years. I need to have this much saved up to achieve that goal. I want to buy a place in the mountains and I need this much. My wife's going to retire early and I need to backfill her. If you can have a why that's specific, it's amazing. You can get a lot more motivation for people to stick to something that they don't necessarily want to do, like show up and work hard making calls every day. But if they can't connect a why to it, honestly, it never happens.
Yeah, totally agree there as well. I think knowing that, and Perry Belcher, who is one of our mentors, he's a internet marketing guy, but he always talks about it like peeling an onion, and you got to keep asking why with every layer, and then at the core is the real why. Like, why
Yep.
do you want to make $100,000 or whatever it is, $1 million, $10 million, whatever the number is? Well, I want to be financially free. Okay, well, peel. Why do you want to be financially free? Well, I want to be financially free because I want to, put my parents, I want to retire my parents. Okay, why do you want to retire your parents? And keep digging down deeper and deeper, and you'll find that real why. And that real why is the thing that ultimately is going to drive you to do what you need to do, to have the discipline, to have the consistency, and all of that.
Yep. That's exactly it. So, if you want to expand from being a managing broker to being a therapist, you can really help people through that whole process. We do it in a class, and sometimes, a decent percentage of the people figure it out and they really get the motivation. You really see their revenue increase over time. And a lot of people, they make what they need to make, and that's okay too. Need all types in the world.
I love that. No, very true. And then what about attracting talent, attracting agents to your team, to your brokerage? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think getting the initial meeting is running the classes. That's what's worked the best for us on something that's topical in the market. And then the other thing that's been a great way just to stay in relationship with realtors is we do a quarterly update to the real estate trends in the markets that we serve, and we do a monthly update of national trends and how it impacts real estate. So we have lots and lots of people that we invite to come to those, and it's just a way to stay top of mind with a lot of fresh. The trend stuff goes out of gets stale like as fast as bread. And then what you want to do is just it's not any dissimilar than a realtor being in touch with their network. If you're top of mind when suddenly they decide I want to sell my house, it makes it easy to convert. If you're the managing broker and you're top of mind when they decide, what, I'm not happy with how this managing broker that I'm currently with handled this transaction support that I just did. I need to go look at other options. You want to be the first person they think of in the first call, and then it's an easy conversion at that point.
Love that. No,
It's
that's
the
great
exact same
insight.
process. Everything you teach your agents, you just do yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Grow the database, do events, follow
Yep.
up, present, all the things. No, totally agree.
Another great
Okay.
way to do it is you just run masterminds of like 12 agents over a lunch and just have them all go around the table, introduce themselves. What's a topic that you're struggling with? And you just talk about those 12 topics for an hour and a half. And that's a really powerful way to just be in touch and add a lot of value. Populate it with half the people from your brokerage, half the people that you want to recruit. and they're going to sit sort of like mixed up next to each other, and during breaks and stuff, they'll say, "So where do you work at?" "Well, I'm at your castle. How do you like it?" Blah 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 blah. It's fantastic, and they'll do half the work for you.
I like that. That's really good insight. Yeah, 12 people, make it very open format. You don't even have to plan anything. You just kind of
Nope.
give advice. The group helps each other.
Yep.
Like that. Yeah. And then record it because that's great content as well. And then you can put that out on all your social medias. And now
Right.
you're leveraging all of your efforts.
And then if you're the person doing the recruiting cold calls, you already know here's 12 problems in the market, and you've got a list of solutions to each of the 12 problems. And then when you talk to the guy on the phone at Brokerage X and say, "So what are you struggling with?" and they say, we're starting with number 4. "Hey, I just did a mastermind yesterday. Let me tell you about what the group came up with, blah, 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 blah. Could we get together and talk about how you could implement that?"
That's
It's
great.
not a recruiting appointment, it's a problem solving appointment.
Yeah. I like that. I love that. Um, okay, cool. So shifting gears a little bit, putting our investor hats on, how are you approaching the market? What opportunities are you seeing in terms of both maybe the commercial multifamily side and the single family residence side?
Well, it's really tough on our Denver market right now for rentals because our legislature's passed about a dozen laws in the last 3 years that are all anti-landlord and pro-tenant. So it's becoming very unattractive from a cash flow standpoint because the prices are up so much, the interest rates are so high, and then the legislature kind of spoiled the environment. So what the opportunity is for listing agents in Denver is this. We have a lot of people who would like to sell their rental because a lot of them, they're sitting on a ton of appreciation. The investment fund I run, we've got a long-term investment fund. Target is about a 17 to 20% annualized return, and one of the shared classes on that gets a lot of depreciation. So here's a message for all of you guys who are listing agents that know people like this in your database. If you like, I can do a conference call with you and your prospective seller, explain how they could sell their property using you as a listing agent, take some of the or all the proceeds, invest with us. We'll give them a lot of depreciation to offset their capital gains. We might be able to just obliterate all of their capital gains thanks to this new tax law that just passed. And then they can enjoy more growth, more exposure to real estate without the headaches of being an active landlord. And then you get a listing out of it. So we can all win together doing that.
Yeah, I love that. So just recapping what I heard you say, um, you're for people that have a seller that maybe has high equity, wants to sell, doesn't necessarily know what to do with the cash, you can help by having them park it into a very passive syndication type thing. The agent would get a listing out of it. You would get a new client. The seller gets to get out of active property management, sell their property, and put all of the gains into a fund that is actively managed so they don't have to worry about anything. And you're giving them a mass tax deduction on the depreciation.
That's it. You summarized it even better than I do. If you've got someone that's income focused, maybe they've retired and they're living off the income from the rental, we do have an income fund that pays 12%. It doesn't have the tax advantages, but at least I can get them out of the treadmill of being a landlord and get them recurring income that they can rely on. So either way, we can get you a listing. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's great. So if someone wanted to learn more about that, how would they do that?
You can go to our website, Ironton, Ironton, irontoncapital.com, and just set up a time to talk with me, and I'd be happy to go through it in more detail with you. Also, I wrote a book on passive investing that might be interesting to both your listeners as well as their clients, like this landlord example. So if you want a free copy of the book, it's irontoncapital.com/founders club, and you can download a copy for free.
Awesome. Well, there you go. We like free stuff and we like making money. So
Well, we're all
definitely
together.
go check that out. Okay, cool. And then uh, let's play a game. Hypothetically speaking, um, the market crashes tomorrow. What is your first move?
Hey, real quick, we are growing our nationwide real estate team and we are looking for agents and brokers who want to be a part of it. To learn more, visit 100commissionrealestate.com. That's the number 100commissionrealestate.com, or send me a message on any of my social media accounts. Links in the description below, and we'll look forward to talking to you. Now back to the episode.
Oh my gosh, this would be just like 2007 to 2009. So what we did in 2009 is that the pace of the decline slowed down. It wasn't clear that we were at the bottom yet, but it was clear that we were getting close to a bottom. And it doesn't matter if you buy at the bottom. If you're somewhere within a couple percentage points, like it's more than good enough, because when you're back up here again, you're going to look back and say, "Thank God I bought here and not that like there," right? So actually, a guy on my investment committee at Ironton Capital, Brent Geyer, he and I did an analysis of the 40 biggest HOAs in Denver in 2009, figured out which ones were most versus least solvent, and then we ranked them in order from desirability. And then I bought just under 140 condos. He bought, I don't know how many dozen, and we sold several hundred to our clients. And then, so like literally, I was buying one bedrooms for 30 grand, two bedrooms for 40 grand that we were reselling a couple years later for 180. It'd be a massive buying stream. I couldn't be lucky enough to have this happen twice, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm still kicking myself. I remember looking at Florida and Vegas and seeing the same thing, $30,000 condos just all over the place. And I'm just
The
kicking
land is
myself.
worth more than that. You have the water
Yeah,
tap in the building for free.
right. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's really insane when you think about it. So, yeah, I like that. So, but what I do remember back then also is that it was really hard to get loans. It was a difficult money raising environment. So, what would you speak to around that?
Gosh, I just like scraped every nickel and dime I found between the sofa cushions to go buy stuff. So I bought an initial tranche of about 20, and within a year and a half, they had doubled in value. I refinanced, pulled out as much equity as I could, and I used that to go buy the next wave. And just kept refinancing and buying more. It was a really long run. It went from like 2009 to about 2015 was a really great spot.
Wow. Yeah, that the old Burr method.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But they
just
worked
keep
really
going.
well because a lot of these places they were foreclosures, they were in crummy condition, but for a small condo, all you need is paint, carpet, some appliances, and maybe you change out some countertops, and it just really
Right.
makes all the difference.
Yeah, and the cash flow on those in the meantime is great.
It was fantastic. Yeah, your loan on a $29,000 purchase is not anything overly terrible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. Um, okay, cool. So shifting gears a little bit, you had an exit of a business to Compass. So for one, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And for two, can you kind of talk us through that process and how that all went?
Yeah, two really different processes. So the brokerage I sold to a private equity fund, and that was about a 2-year process. So I talked to, I think it was probably 8 or 9 potential different buyers, and got to like got LOIs from 3 of them. Then we just waited until we found one that had like the right cultural fit. So that was like a long, drawn out process, partially because COVID was in the middle of it, partially just because we weren't in any kind of a rush. And then the polar opposite, before the slowdown in the market, like 2020, 2021, Compass was just throwing money out of helicopters at people. It was an unbelievable time. So I got a cold note on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I'm a business development person at Compass. Would like to talk to you about selling the title company." It was done. We were closed like 45 days later. It was
Wow.
unbelievable how fast it came together.
So they just reached out to you and said, "We want to buy." And I do remember that. I remember they were just throwing money at everything. At top producers, were getting like hundred fifty
Yeah,
thousand dollars
yeah.
signing bonuses and like all sorts of stuff.
It was an insane time.
Yeah. So would you say
So
that it was just the right time with the right buyer that it just all came together?
yeah, right place, right time. And some of your listeners, you'll have an exit where you get lucky and lightning strikes, and it's all rainbows and unicorns. And that was. The other one was a typical, I think, business transaction. I bought several brokerages to get to scale faster along the way. Those were typically 4 to 6 month, you know, processes of courtship and learning and deal dying, and then resurrection and dying again, and resurrection and finally getting it closed. Not dissimilar to any large commercial transaction, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. So talk to me about that because I think that's a very good way of looking at it, and something that we talk about a lot is with our broker friends and our people that own property management companies, escrow companies, moving companies, all of these things. We always say that the fastest way to scale is to go acquire another X business that is in line with yours and bring it into the fold. Like, what advice would you have around doing that?
Well, it's an incredible strategy, and it worked for us 2 out of 3 times. We had one that we bought that the cultural fit was just atrocious. We ended up getting it back to the seller and taking a bit of a loss on it. But the other two, like one was like a perfect cultural fit. It was completely seamless. It worked out great. It got us into a couple new markets. It got us like a great relocation company that we didn't have. We were able to take that relocation group and span it across all the different geographies. That was like one of the best transactions I ever did. And the other one was pretty effortless as well. So I would highly encourage you to go out there and look at that. So the thing you might want to think about is like anybody, if you've got a brokerage that's like up to 15 people, it's like a little fraternity. It can be a really good time, and one person, you, the owner, can play all the different hats. If you've got a brokerage with like 100 or 150, you're making enough that you can hire a couple people to help you out. You can have like a full-time or at least part-time managing broker to do compliance and file review and coaching, and maybe like a full-time admin that does the books and does just some of the busy work in a brokerage. Between these two is the valley of death. You got to get out of the valley of death as quickly as you can. So either you want to be 15 or you want to be more than 100. You do not want to be 65. That's just a train wreck. So what you could do is a study of your market and figure out who's in the valley of death and get a sense of, because you probably know your market pretty well. They've been there for a couple of years. So probably what it was is a charismatic agent who said, I'm bigger than an agent. I can be a broker. I'm going to have my own brokerage. And they got it to 15, and that was working out great. And said, now I'm going to try to get bigger. And they stalled out at 60, and it's miserable. They're losing money. They're working nonstop running the brokerage. They're working nonstop selling real estate because not making any money with the brokerage, and it's just like not any fun. If you could come up with a list of 5 or 10 of those guys and call them up saying, "Hey, would like to explore how we might be able to collaborate," I'm sure you're going to find 2 of them that would love to sell to you, and it may not even cost you that much to buy them.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. The Valley of Death. I can totally relate to that. And I know some people that are in the Valley of Death right now. Those are some of the conversations we're having. And I totally agree. It's like you gotta, when you keep it small, you kind of have control over everything. You can kind of set it kind of coasting. But and then when it's bigger, then you're hiring people so you can have that again, nice flow. But in that middle ground is where yeah, the Valley of Death.
Right. So if you get an owner who's interested, an interesting thing to do as a culture check, which I didn't do with the one that didn't work, but I did it every time after that, is whatever class or classes that you're running that your agents internally find interesting and you're using it as a recruiting tool, like you're calling people to say, hey, let's come to my AI class, offer to run the class for that brokerage at their next sales meeting. It'll give you an opportunity to meet a lot of the people. And then the next time you run a mastermind that's maybe half your agents, try to populate 4 or 5 agents from that target brokerage and then 2 or 3 other ones from, Coldwell Banker, Remax, somebody else, and do 3 or 4 of those different masterminds, rotating out 3 or 4 different people that are among the good producers from the target brokerage into each of the masterminds. So ideally, you get to meet like 12, 16, 18 of the best 60 people there, and just talk to them a little bit afterwards. See if you can't set up a time to just talk to them about their businesses, and you'll get a good sense of their culture, how they think, what they like, what they don't like, and you'll know, is the package of what we offer going to resonate with these guys? If it does, then you're going to be really sticky. You'll be able to retain them all when they make the announcement because they already know you. You're not an unknown factor. The reason why you have breakage when you buy a brokerage is that they're afraid. And if they've already come to a class, they've already been to a mastermind, they've had lunch with you, it just makes the whole thing a lot smoother. And this just really stacks the success odds in your favor.
What a simple way to do that. I like culture check. I like that because, yeah, couldn't agree more. Because if you get, if you do an event like that and nobody shows up because no one cares and they just want to be independent and you're the type of office that's like very family oriented where everybody knows each other, that might not be the best culture fit.
Yep. So all of you guys who are listening must have something special about you and your brokerage, or else you wouldn't have 40 agents working for you. So whatever that something is, build on that strength. For us, it was education, but you've probably got something else, and that'll work too. There's lots of ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great advice. Um, okay, so a couple questions I like to ask all the guests as we start to wrap up is one, um, what are some tools, softwares, apps, anything right now that you're using that are, helping making your life easier, your business easier, helping you make more money, any of that sort of stuff?
Pardon the quick interruption, but if you're looking for a little extra help growing your real estate business, make sure you hit the link in the description below to book a one on one consulting session where I will personally help you take your real estate business to the next level. Book your session today. And now back to the podcast.
Let me just pull up the right spelling of this and I'll put it in the chat box for you so you can share it to your listeners. Yep, here it is, Fixer. So this is an AI tool that a lot of the admin team in our office is using. It's called Fixer, Fyxer, and you can try it free for 7 days. It doesn't cost a lot after that. What it'll do is categorize all of your inbox into 8 folders, and it does a pretty good job on it right out the gate, and you can tune it if you're not happy with it. But if you're going to be out showing clients properties for a couple hours and you've got a listing appointment and you come back, there's like 85 new emails in your inbox, it'll have sorted out, here's the 6 that you got to do right away, and then here's the other 7 categories. You kind of go through them at your leisure. It will study all of the sent messages that you've had over time and that you've saved with clients, and it learns how to adapt your voice in drafting a response to all these emails. So when you open up the 6 important ones, there'll already be a draft underneath it with a reply. And most of the time, if it's a routine sort of a deal, it'll probably be good enough. You just hit the send button, off it goes. You can give it permission to link to your calendar, and you can say, "I'm open from these time windows. If I'm on a listing appointment, like don't overbook me, but here's the times on either side if I can do it." So if someone says, "Hey, I want to get together with you next week to talk about X," it'll draft a reply saying, "I'm open on Monday, these times, Tuesday, those times." You just double check it, hit the send button. It's a really big time saver.
That's awesome. Fixer.ai. Yeah, I just heard about that as well. I was at the Inman conference and someone else had mentioned that to me. So I'll definitely have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
amazing all this
awesome.
AI stuff that we have. We're probably like in the second inning of a very long game. I can't wait to see where we're at this time next year. Even in
Yeah.
the 6 months since I wrote this book on AI for realtors, I'm amazed like how much it's progressed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Every week I'm hearing about something new. So it's mind-boggling. Um, cool. What about best book that has impacted your business?
It's an extremely boring thing, but if I think about the books that were the very most impactful, actually reading Rich Dad Poor Dad right before I even had a license, that's what made me get a license. Completely reframed my thinking about it. So for those of you guys who have a database of people who might want to become a real estate investor and they want to try the active side of it, if they haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that is the way you get them to be fired up to go buy a property with you.
Yeah, nothing like giving away a book with a business card.
Yeah, exactly. You can probably buy it used now for like $10 or even less than that. So it's a very low cost conversion tool. The great thing about a book is that you can't email it. Like, I want to get together for lunch or coffee or a cocktail and bring you a book that was really transformative to my investing career. When can we get together? Can you email it to me? No, it's a book. We need to get together.
Yep, love that. No, that's great advice as well. So, okay, cool. And then in 60 seconds or less, what does it take to be successful in real estate?
Just show up every day and do it. I think Woody Allen said 90% of success is showing up, in this industry is no different. Just have a positive attitude, try to ask good questions, really spend a lot of time listening, find the core problem, find a way to solve the problem, and you're there.
Love it. Very cool. Well, Lon, I certainly appreciate you coming on. One more time, the link for that book and anyone that wants to find more information, can you give that out again?
Yeah, it's Ironton, Ironton, so irontoncapital.com, and then / Founders Club to download the book. And you can very easily find a place to book an appointment on the website there. So if you want to talk to me about a client that wants to sell and we can brainstorm how to get you a new listing, I'm happy to do that as well.
Love that. Well, again, appreciate your time. Make sure you guys go check him out. Help get you guys some more listings, which is always a good thing. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, check out the links in the description. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks,
Thanks for
Lon.
having me. I appreciate it.
All right.